Vivian Vance truly hated him more than anyone. Vivian Vance, born Vivian Robera Jones on July 26, 1909 in Cherry Vale, Kansas, raised in a conservative and religious household in the heartland of America, Vance displayed an early interest in the performing arts despite her mother's objections. From a young age she found solace and joy in music and acting. Determined to pursue her passion, she studied drama under the renowned Ava Legalin and eventually made her way to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where she became involved in local theater. It was during these formative years that she honed her skills and laid the foundation for a career that would later flourish on both stage and screen. Vivian's move to New York City in the 1930s marked a significant turning point in her career. She appeared in numerous Broadway productions including Anything Goes and The Voice of the Turtle, where her talent as both an actress and singer began to shine. Her natural timing, expressive face, and warm stage presence earned her critical acclaim and opened the doors to Hollywood. Though her early film appearances were modest, her stage work gained the attention of producer and writer Jess Oppenheimer, who would later cast her in the role that defined her legacy. Vance's career trajectory took another exciting turn when she succeeded the legendary Kay Thompson in the 1937 Broadway musical Hooray for What? The musical, which was an energetic and exuberant production, became an important stepping stone in Vance's career. Her success in Hooray for What demonstrated that she was capable of carrying her own in leading roles. However, it was her next major role in the Cole Porter musical Let's Face It, 1941, that would solidify her place in Broadway history. In Let's Face It, Vance played the role of Nancy Callister, and her performance was widely praised. Sharing the stage with notable stars such as Danny Kaye, Edith Meiser, and Eve Arden, Vance's portrayal of Nancy Callister became a key highlight of the production. The musical ran for an impressive 547 performances, marking a significant achievement in her career. The success of Let's Face It made her a well-known figure in Broadway circles, as she had not only demonstrated her considerable talent but also established herself as a reliable and talented performer in large-scale productions. While Vance's Broadway success was a major part of her career, she also found opportunities in film, which she pursued in the 1940s. After her appearance in a revival of The Cradle Will Rock in 1947, Vance decided to move to California in search of new opportunities in both theater and film. The West Coast presented a different kind of potential for her career, and she sought to expand her reach beyond the confines of Broadway. During her time in Los Angeles, Vance appeared in 2 films, both of which demonstrated her ability to adapt to the demands of the silver screen. In The Secret Fury, 1950, Vance played the role of Leah, a streetwise chambermaid, bringing a blend of toughness and vulnerability to the character. Her performance was widely praised, as she proved that her acting chops were just as sharp on screen as they had been on stage. Similarly, in The Blue Veil, 1951, she portrayed the character of Alicia, a role that showcased her range as an actress. Her performances in these films earned her positive reviews from critics who recognized her strong screen presence and her ability to inhabit different types of characters. In 1951, Vance was cast opposite Lucille Ball in I Love Lucy, a television show that would become one of the most celebrated sitcoms of all time. As Ethel Mertz, the wisecracking, loyal, and endearingly sarcastic best friend and neighbor to Lucy Ricardo, Vance displayed a masterful ability to play the straight woman to Ball's zany antics. Her chemistry with Ball was undeniable, creating one of the most beloved comedic duos in television history. Behind the scenes, however, Vance and Ball shared a complex but deep friendship that would last for decades. Though they sometimes clashed, they ultimately respected and cared for one another as colleagues and friends. Winning the first ever Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1954, Vance made history and helped legitimize the importance of supporting roles in television comedy. Her portrayal of Ethel Mertz was groundbreaking in many ways, offering a strong, humorous female character who wasn't simply an accessory to the male leads but a comedic force in her own right. She brought humanity and relatability to the role, often grounding the more absurd situations of the show with her wit and warmth. It was in 1965 that Vance's career experienced another shift when she joined the cast of The Lucy Show, a television sitcom that would become one of the defining series of the 1960s. After spending several seasons on the show, Vance's role in television helped her become even more widely recognized, but it was after her departure from the series that she looked to revive her film career. She signed on to appear in Blake Edwards' The Great Race, 1965, a comedy that starred Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, and Natalie Wood. The film was an amusing and light-hearted affair, a far cry from some of the more serious roles she had previously taken on. Despite not being a massive hit, The Great Race enjoyed moderate success, earning several Academy Award nominations. Vance saw this film as a potential turning point for her movie career, hoping it would open doors to more substantial roles. However, the film's success did little to ignite the film career she had hoped for, and her Hollywood aspirations largely remained unfulfilled. Throughout her career, Vance's work in both theater and film was a testament to her versatility and determination as an actress. From her early days on Broadway to her role in The Lucy Show and her brief foray into Hollywood, Vivian Vance's career is one of resilience and adaptation. Although she never fully achieved the level of film stardom that some of her peers reached, her contributions to the arts both on stage and on screen are remembered fondly by fans and critics alike. Her legacy as an actress who brought warmth, humor, and depth to every role she undertook continues to resonate in the world of entertainment. Vivian Vance experienced a complex and often challenging personal life marked by a series of 4 marriages, each of which played a distinct role in shaping her emotional world and influencing her personal development. Her first 3 marriages ended in divorce, reflecting the turbulence and personal difficulties she often faced behind the scenes even as she maintained a public image of humor and grace. These early unions were reportedly strained by the demands of her career, personal incompatibilities, and perhaps the lingering effects of her upbringing and mental health struggles, including bouts of depression. Though little is widely documented about her first and second husbands, these relationships did not endure the strain of her rising fame and the pressures of working in show business. Her third marriage, however, was both the longest and most troubling. She was married to actor Philip Ober for 18 years, a relationship that lasted from 1941 to 1959. Ober, who had a modest acting career of his own with appearances in film and television, reportedly became increasingly resentful of Vance's success, particularly as she gained national fame and acclaim for her portrayal of Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy. Rumors and reports circulated that Ober was not only emotionally abusive but also physically violent, driven by his jealousy over Vance's greater professional achievements and the attention she received. Several accounts from friends and associates of Vance suggested that her home life with Ober was far from the cheerful persona she projected on television. These allegations, though never publicly confirmed by Vance herself, painted a picture of a woman who endured great personal suffering even as she brought laughter to millions. The emotional toll of this marriage likely influenced her later decisions in both her personal and professional life, and it has been speculated that her difficult experiences with Ober left her wary of further romantic entanglements for a time. However, a new chapter in Vance's personal life began on January 16, 1961, when she married her fourth and final husband, John Dodds. Dodds was a respected literary agent, editor, and publisher, and unlike her previous partners, he seemed to offer her the stability, respect, and companionship she had long sought. Their relationship was reportedly built on mutual admiration and emotional support, with Dodds providing Vance with a sense of safety and partnership that had been absent in her earlier marriages. The couple initially made their home in Stamford, Connecticut, a peaceful and culturally vibrant town that allowed Vance to step away from the intensity of Hollywood and enjoy a quieter, more grounded lifestyle. Stamford became a retreat where she could focus on her personal interests, including painting and volunteer work, and she was known in the community as a gracious and generous neighbor. In 1974, after more than a decade in Connecticut, Vance and Dodds relocated to California. The move was partly motivated by Vance's ongoing health concerns as well as a desire to be closer to the entertainment community and longtime friends, including Lucille Ball, with whom she had maintained a complicated but ultimately enduring friendship. Settling in Belvedere, a tranquil and picturesque community in Northern California, Vance and Dodds enjoyed a relatively quiet life together in her later years despite her declining health. She suffered a series of strokes and was eventually diagnosed with breast cancer. Vance remained active in her creative pursuits and cherished the emotional support Dodds provided. Their marriage endured until Vance's death on August 17, 1979, marking the end of her long and often turbulent journey in love. For Vance, her final marriage was a source of comfort and peace, a stark contrast to the pain and volatility of her earlier relationships. To the millions of viewers who tuned into I Love Lucy every week during the 1950s, Vivian Vance and William Frawley were a comedic dream team as Ethel and Fred Mertz, the cranky but lovable landlords and best friends to Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. They bickered with the kind of timing and chemistry that only seasoned professionals could deliver. But behind the scenes, the relationship between the actors was anything but friendly. In fact, Vivian Vance truly hated William Frawley more than anyone she ever worked with in her long career. What the audience mistook for acting was often a reflection of real-life disdain. The animosity began the moment they met. Vance, a classically trained actress and stage veteran, was horrified when she learned that Frawley, a hard-drinking, gruff character actor more than 2 decades her senior, would be playing her on-screen husband. At the time, Vance was in her early 40s, attractive and elegant, while Frawley was in his mid-60s, balding, and known for his abrasive personality. Vance reportedly complained openly, saying it was utterly unbelievable that someone like her would be married to someone like him. This infuriated Frawley, whose pride and ego couldn't tolerate such blunt criticism. From that moment on, the two were locked in a cold war of mutual contempt that lasted well beyond their time on the show. Their relationship deteriorated even further as I Love Lucy became a runaway success. Vance's commitment to her craft, her insistence on rehearsals, script analysis, and attention to detail, clashed with Frawley's old-school, often lazy attitude. He was known to memorize his lines quickly and resist any changes, often becoming irritated when scenes required multiple takes. He also had a reputation for drinking heavily, even during work hours, which sometimes made him unreliable and unpredictable on set. Vance, a perfectionist who valued professionalism, found this behavior intolerable. She often accused him of sabotaging scenes or deliberately undercutting her timing with offhand remarks and grumpy line deliveries. Frawley, for his part, was no less venomous. He despised Vance's snooty attitude and resented her for her comments about his age and appearance. He frequently referred to her with unflattering nicknames behind her back, reportedly calling her the sack of doorknobs or that fat broad. He even had a clause in his contract stating that if Vance ever left the show, he would not work with her again. He stuck to that vow when CBS later considered spinning off I Love Lucy into a new series centered on the Mertzes. Frawley immediately turned down the idea when he found out Vance was hesitant about continuing the partnership. Their hatred had become so toxic that neither could fathom spending any more time together than necessary. Even when the show ended and they went their separate ways, the bitterness remained. In interviews later in life, both were reluctant to discuss each other in depth, but when they did, the disdain was palpable. Frawley reportedly celebrated when he heard of Vance's cancer diagnosis in the late 1970s, telling a friend that old bag finally got what was coming to her. Conversely, when Frawley died in 1966, Vance was said to have exclaimed, "Champagne for everyone." Though this may be apocryphal, it underscores the deeply rooted hostility between the two. Their feud has since become legendary in television history, not only because of how intense it was, but because it was so sharply contrasted by the warmth and camaraderie their characters displayed on screen. They were a masterclass in acting, managing to create one of TV's most iconic couples despite a real-life relationship marred by hatred, mistrust, and vitriol. To this day, when fans discuss the history of I Love Lucy, the one thing that shocks them most is the revelation that Ethel and Fred Mertz couldn't stand each other off camera. And for Vivian Vance, William Frawley wasn't just an unpleasant colleague, he was the person she hated more than anyone else in her entire life. Vivian Vance, the beloved American actress best known for her iconic role as Ethel Mertz on the classic television sitcom I Love Lucy, passed away on August 17, 1979, at the age of 70. Her death marked the end of a remarkable life and career that had left an indelible mark on American entertainment and pop culture. Vance had been privately battling metastatic breast cancer, a condition in which cancer cells spread from the breast to other parts of the body such as the bones, liver, or lungs. Despite her illness, she remained courageous and resilient, supported by close friends and family members who stood by her side during her final months. In her final years, Vance had largely retreated from the public spotlight, choosing to live a more peaceful and quiet life in Belvedere, California, a serene community north of San Francisco. There she continued to stay active in local theater and community activities as long as her health permitted. The devastating progression of her disease, however, gradually weakened her. Metastatic breast cancer, especially during the 1970s, offered limited treatment options and posed significant physical challenges as medical advancements in oncology were still developing. Nonetheless, Vance showed remarkable grace and dignity as she faced the pain and decline brought on by her illness. Those closest to her, including her husband John Dodds, were a source of comfort during her final days. Vance and Dodds had shared a strong and supportive partnership, and he remained her steadfast companion throughout her health crisis. Longtime friends, including Lucille Ball, her co-star and close confidant, were deeply affected by her illness. Ball reportedly visited Vance shortly before her death, and the two shared an emotional farewell that underscored the deep and enduring bond they had formed over decades of friendship and collaboration. Vivian Vance's passing was met with sorrow across the nation, particularly among fans of classic television who had grown to love her wit, warmth, and comedic brilliance. Her portrayal of Ethel Mertz had brought joy to millions, and her contribution to the golden age of television was universally recognized. News of her death prompted tributes from colleagues, critics, and admirers alike, all of whom praised her talent, generosity, and enduring impact on the entertainment industry. Though her life was tragically cut short by cancer, Vivian Vance left behind a legacy that continues to inspire performers and delight audiences. Her work remains widely celebrated through reruns of I Love Lucy, and her story serves as a poignant reminder of both the fragility of life and the lasting power of laughter and friendship.